now we've talked friendly and built a relationship. I know that Nick wants to give me absolute hell because you're a cocker man. You just have cockers. You said to me before, I think before we started recording, you've never had a Labrador. I just like, well, you weren't recording. You stop. Do you know I've got way more cockers than you?
Yeah.
I love cockers. Okay.
You give them bad press.
I do, but you know why I give them bad press? The reason and I just want to put this out there before you take a knife to my back. Hi, I'm Charlie Thorburn. Welcome to The Dog Father. The aim of this podcast is to look at the wider world of dogs and how it's impacted people's lives and businesses. I've been training dogs for 25 years and I love them dearly, and I'm hoping to share some of this with you. Welcome to the episode. I'm here with Nick Ridley, photographer, author, dog trainer, journalist, man of multiple talents. We've got the gun dog arena of the game fair Ridley Hall 2025 in the background. Nick's very kindly given me 15-20 minutes of his time to talk about dogs.
Yeah.
So we were just before this because we don't know each other. No. We sort of know of each other, but we've not met. Yeah. And we've just literally Joe's just rugby tackled you in a stand. You started off as a photographer of sort of countryside gun dogs mainly.
Yeah, did that.
You had stands here. You went to championships and trials, taking photos, etc., selling them to the people, selling them to magazines.
Yeah, we started right at the beginning of digital photography. So we were printing on site. So we would take the pictures. I put a big television screen up at the back that showed people. And
right. So I could come here with my pretty dog or ugly dog. And you take a beautiful photo and then take a few, and I'd go, I want that one. You print it out for me. I could go home with my photograph of my dog or me and my dog ready to go.
We were really the first people on the circuit to do anything like that.
And when was that?
20 odd years ago.
And what was before that?
Right. So a mixed career, and there was a surprising element to it. So kind of admin jobs. Got made redundant. I was regional manager for a recruitment consultancy. Got made redundant and actually joined the RSPCA as an inspector.
Okay.
Did that for 12 years. Fascinating career. I went off to Thailand training inspectors and South Korea and did 5 or 6 television series. But gun dogs and that kind of thing was always my thing. I specialised in wildlife law in the RSPCA actually.
Okay. Were you into? Did you grow up in shooting and that sort of thing?
I came off of a council estate in North London. Okay. Fishing was my thing, and but always hankered after gun dogs. So my first gun dog was actually a Springer. Never owned a Labrador. He says. We'll be talking about that in a minute. But my first gun dog, he's off already. My first gun dog was a Springer, and it kind of just developed from there. So
then you got into shooting and gun dogs, and you obviously had a thing for photography already.
Yes.
That was a sort of amateur thing that you turned into a professional
job. I then started writing for the Sporting Press.
Yep.
I was gun dog editor for the freelance, but for the Sporting Gun and the Sporting Shooter.
Okay.
Did that for about 18, 19 years as well.
Oh, a long time.
Yeah. So I've done 6 books in total, and 1 on Spaniels. I did write a book on Labradors once, actually. Yeah. So this is going to be a theme through this whole thing, isn't it? So yeah, and then I've got 5 cockers now, but my passion, Charlie, is shooting over my dogs.
Yeah.
So I don't trial. I do a few tests, but I just get such a buzz going out, and we've got a little group of us, done it for about 18 years. We buy 25 bird days and just going out and shooting over those dogs.
Just over your own dogs?
Yep.
Proper like hunting, shooting type stuff.
I can remember every retrieve, every shot I've had. I've got a YouTube channel. I wear a head cam, so people have kind of joined in over the years of those days.
Okay.
And that for me is it's just the best thing in the world. I love it, and I love bringing. I've got a little cocker twig at the moment. She's 3, and we bred her, and this will be her first season coming up. And I think to take a young dog, train it, go out and shoot that first header game over it, that brings it back. That's just brilliant.
That's it.
It's just,
it doesn't get any better.
That's what it's about. Yeah.
No, so I mean, from that point of view, like I've never run in a trial. I've never entered a trial. I've never wanted to enter a trial. No. I've done an odd test.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the first test I did was I was just getting into dogs, and I had a red Labrador and a yellow Labrador, who are my original sort of dogs. And I was like 22, completely green. There was a test.
That far back? I can't.
I'm not as old as you. Yeah. And I was completely green. And I had one of my dogs that I'd left him with a gamekeeper I went beating with and picking up with. And I'd left him because I was sort of with him while I went off traveling, because I was a sort of student kind of type. And he'd get gone past, but he'd obviously given him an almighty something on a lead. And the dog was scared of a lead. So he never went on a lead. It was immaculate. Like, you could walk him round this game fair. He'd never put a foot wrong. He never went on a lead. So I was at this test and he hated the lead, and he put a lead on, he would just go put his head down. So I'm walking along with these two dogs off a lead, and I'm 22. I didn't know where I was. And instead of, and my first it was a real shame, because my first memory of like kind of that world was not a guy coming up to me saying, "Oh, you just ought to have your dog on a lead," sort of thing. He was like, "We can all walk around with dogs on a lead, you should put them on a lead." And I was a bit like, "Oh, right, that sounds good." And it didn't really inspire me, which was a bit of a shame. So I kind of never really got into it. And I was helping at the Scottish Game Fair, and Spaniel, someone bailed at the last minute, or their dog was in season or something, and they needed another dog to run. And they were like, "Charlie, have you got a Spaniel?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I ran this dog, and I started running the dog, just let her go, put my hands in my pockets. She was a great little dog. Shot went off. And she was one of these, she was a Springer, a little Springer though, and she was quite a handful when she was young, but I put so much work into her that she's just great. I literally just walking along, my hands in my pocket, and the judge was like, "You're pretty confident." I'm like, "I'm just filling in, so whatever." And we got to the end anyway. She did everything perfectly, and I came second. And I was like, "Wow, I came second." And then the guy who organised it, who I was helping, came up to the end. He goes, "By the way, you came first, but we couldn't let you come first because
you were standing."
And that was it. So I got my little second rosette, and I honestly don't. And that was early 2000s. I don't think I've entered a test since, or a trial. And I haven't entered a trial. And I'm not. Some of my guys who work for me do tests, and Lauren's just won a test with a Springer, and they're all into kind of the concept of doing a bit of trials and stuff. But yeah, what my love is I love going out shooting. Most shooting all of us do these days, not obviously you clearly, because you're organised but most of my shooting is a bit like, "Oh, do you want to come shooting?" It's a driven day, and I get invited by people. But so I go on a shoot on a peg, and I enjoy that, and I very lucky and spoilt that I get a fair amount of shooting. But I have to say, I do a lot of dogs over to America, and they're all field hunting, rough shooting dogs, whether they're labs or spaniels, and I do love that. And I do love that more, that sort of element of actually just two of you or three of you out shooting. And my favourite day in the last few years, the two favourite days in the last few years, one was up in the Highlands of Scotland, and we drove to the very top of one of the highest sort of summits in Scotland. Shoot on a grouse moor. We walked up Ptarmigan the last year before they were put on the ban list. We walked up Ptarmigan, shot a brace of ptarmigan. We walked on down, we shot a few grouse. We walked on down, we shot hares, we shot rabbits, we shot partridges, pheasants. Ended up down the bottom on a little splash, and the keeper was like, "Oh, there's some." We could see from above there was some ducks on it, so we go round, and he drove the ducks off. And I mean, we probably shot, between five of us, we probably shot 25, 30 head a game.
Perfect.
And I remember it now. It was awesome. And when we got to the top of the hill, it was like lashing with rain, horrible. And my wife, kind of king, you opened the door card all the wrong way, and you've taken the door off. And my wife would have been like, "Why do you guys do this? How do you pay for it?" Like, what? You're kind of odd. She's more of like let's go and shoot in Spain kind of person.
Those mixed days, and I think and I hope that's the way shooting goes a little bit. I
think it will.
I think it will. And we've been doing this a long time, and I'm finding that shoots that we've gone on have folded and gone. So we're constantly trying to find new bits of ground and new shoots to do it. I think keepers that run kind of bigger shoots, they can't understand why people want to go out and shoot 25 birds.
No.
And I say to people, I've got one gun, only ever had one gun, and I only have a gun to get a retrieve for my dogs. And anybody who watches my channel will know that doesn't always happen either, because I'm probably a better dog trainer than I am a shot.
So I quite like asking people, we're talking to people over the weekend, I quite like asking people, and I don't need to ask you because I can see the answer already, but it's some people are people who like shooting and they want a dog to come with them. And then there's people like you and me who are dog people who go shooting because they like getting to work their dog. So I would rather drop my gun and work my dogs than the other way around.
I get a great buzz out of working a well-run beating line.
Yeah. So I joined a Jeremy Organ yesterday.
Well, Jeremy, I've known him for years. In fact,
and Jeremy's like, love going beating. Yeah. He does way more beating than anything else.
Jeremy used one of my dogs. He's got some relations. He's got my Ted, who's probably my stalwart dog. He's 9 years old now, but Jeremy's got his sister.
Okay.
So I've known Jeremy for a long time, and he's come out with a shoot in the past. When I was writing for the Sporting Gun, we did some articles together.
So when did you went from photography to basically being a journalist in the shooting world?
Yeah.
When did you start sort of training your dogs and helping other people train their dogs?
So I can tell you exactly. So I'd always train my own dogs. And again, I've been lucky through my photography work, working with some of the, what I class as some of the top trainers in the country. I did a lot of work for David Lissett up at Clue at the time, Jeremy. So I've managed to pick up lots of information from lots of different people. So that I used to put into my own dogs. And I'll never forget, I'd been asked to help people out a lot, and I'd always said no, because I didn't class myself as a dog trainer.
Yeah. You were just a guy who liked dogs, and your dogs were good.
But I'd always trained other people. I was running dog photography courses at the time. I was training in the RSPCA, so I'd always done training. And I got asked by this dog trainer. I've known him for years, and he ran a pet dog training thing, but he ran a gun dog class. So he asked me to go along 3 Wednesday evenings to do some demos for his class. Anyway, I went along, and I'll always forget so we set some little things out. This girl threw a dummy out for this little dog. She'd been going 2.5 years to this trainer. Threw this dummy out, the dog ran out, picked the dummy up, threw it in the air and disappeared. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. So we went through, and with all due respect, it was just awful.
Okay.
So I can't say it any other way. By the time I'd got home, 3 of them had phoned me and said, would I do some lessons? I said to my wife, I said, do you know something? I'm going to see what happens. So that was about 6 years ago. Okay. And it's just grown and grown and grown. I've got a lovely bunch of people around me.
And so where are you based?
Buckinghamshire, just outside of Aylesbury. In fact, next week, when I go back on Wednesday, I'll run a training camp in Wales. This will be the 4th year we do it, 5th year. And we're off there next week. So 18 of them come in. We go to a chap called John Rees. Bilbach Cockers, that's a good Welsh accent there, and we run a training camp over there, and I just absolutely loved it. I love it. I've shot over some of my clients' dogs for the first time.
Yep.
And that gives me the biggest buzz ever.
Yeah, because you've seen them come with puppies, get them up to a level, and then
And my lot are a mixed bunch. Some of them just have dogs that are gun dog breeds, that want to
do something with them. Yeah.
And I think, I don't know whether you'd agree with this, I think there's an element of gun dog trainers that won't deal with those people.
Yeah, I'd say most of them.
Yeah,
it's a snobbery thing.
It is.
And I think it's a bit like that guy who said to me, "Well, we can all walk our dogs on the lead, put your dog." He didn't need to be like that. He could have just said, "Mate, by the way, you're just new here, you're young, put your dogs on a lead," because that's just the form. I'd have gone, "Oh right,
I
sorry."
can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think as well.
And I think that's a real shame. And I watch some of my team who work for me. We've got quite a big team of guys and girls working for me, and I've had some of them come back from competitions a little bit like disheartened because the attitude everyone else. It's like, come on, if you want to keep something going. And I'm now too far gone and too outspoken that I can't get into that world and change it.
Well, I wrote an article some years ago, and it was about trialing and stuff like that, and it was about judging being subjective, and I got slated for it. So basically, the crux of that article was, I'm not competitive, so that's one of the reasons why I don't compete like that. I used to do my tests because I used to write about them the following month, and it was more about the dogs. It was like a dog diary rather than me going out and me getting a rosette. It wasn't. It was about the journey of the dogs, for want of a better word. And I wrote this article, and it was about how subjective judging is. And I kind of concluded at the end, I'm probably the best judge of my dogs. I know when my dogs have cocked up, rather than somebody looking at it and saying, "Oh, well, I know how that dog's bred. Oh, forget that. I don't like that breeding.
I don't like that guy.
Dog's the wrong colour. That dog's too big. That dog's too small."
It's funny in that, because actually put that in the wider world, and you look at kind of you know, having, you know, look at some of the stuff that's gone on recently about having to employ certain people from certain places and stuff. And it's like, it doesn't matter what their name is, where they're from. What it matters is whether they can do the job. And I think actually you can put that into dogs as well, which is very much the same principle, which is like, they shouldn't know the breeding, they shouldn't know the name of the handler, really. It's just, here's a dog, we're judging it, blinkered, what's this dog doing today in front of me?
And I think the other flip side to that is as well, as a trainer with people coming for training, I think it's important you can look at that little dog, and whether you like that dog or you like its style or like its attitude is irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think what's important is the job should be to get the most out of that dog
for the person.
Exactly.
And for what they want it to do.
Exactly.
And this is again, I think going back to like gun dog trainers, you know, mindset often is, oh, this is what we do. And like, but actually that person wants to do something different. So let's do what they want to do, because ultimately they're here, they're the client, and they want to achieve this with their dog. And if someone comes to me and says, oh, I want a dog, I want to train it to do stuff, but actually I've never going shooting. It's like, it doesn't matter. You're enjoying building your bond with the dog. We sell our businesses. We do lessons like you. We do residential training. But the core of my business, the bit I love, is we breed our own dogs. We keep them, we train them, and we sell them trained. Because we get to train the dogs. And there's lots of people, it's very satisfying helping somebody train their own dog and shooting over their dog and being part of that. But sadly, people are busy, and some people just don't, how with the best training and help in the world, they just can't do it. They don't have that. So we enjoy training our own dogs and then seeing people getting the enjoyment out of the dog. And I've got an old Series 1 Land Rover, and I use that example. My wife's grandfather bought it brand new in 1951. It's her grandfather died, then her father died when she was quite young. It sat in a barn for 35 years.
You're making me very jealous now.
Okay. And the idea of having this Land Rover in a barn and me restoring it on weekends with my kids.
Brilliant.
Oh, romantic. And then driving to pub. I restored it. I didn't have a clue about restoring Land Rovers. I don't have any time. My kids are too small anyway. So I took it a lot to a guy along the road who's an expert in restoring Land Rovers, and I get a huge amount of satisfaction out of the fact that he's done a lovely job, and there's this Land Rover back on the road that you know has been in my wife's family for 74 years.
My second passion, very close, is Land Rovers, I'm afraid. So actually I've done the opposite. I did get an old one. I did restore it, and it broke my heart when I sold it. but yeah, I understand that fully.
But yeah, so taking you know, seeing that person getting enjoyment out of their dog. But some people come to us and they're like, oh, you know, I really like the well-behaved gun dog bit, but actually, you know, I don't shoot. Is that a problem? I'm like, no, but we train them to do all the gun dog stuff, even that with the dummies and, you know, lefts and rights and etc. Because even if you're not going to work it, it gives you something to do when you go for a walk with your dog, rather than your what I've coined the phrase of forest gumping, which is just running for the sake of running. You go out and your dog's like, right, what are we doing? And they're not interested in the poodle over there and the cockapoodle over there. They're like, what are we doing, Dad? What are we going to do today? And they're enjoying working with their dog, even though they're never going to see a shoot. And the other thing people say, but if they're trained as a gun dog, they're not going to miss it. I'm like, if they've never been shooting,
they don't know.
There's nothing to miss.
No. But I think as well, you're tapping into that dog's ability, aren't you? You're tapping into its DNA, and
you're giving it a purpose
and focus.
And we all need a purpose. And we all get satisfaction out of having something to do, whether that's just cutting the grass or running a multi-million-pound business. It's a purpose and it's enjoyment.
Well, that was kind of the basis behind the book. So when I finished writing for the magazines about 2 years ago, and you know, that was a big chunk of my working time. And I had a bit of an itch that needed scratching, and I thought, you know something, I'm going to write a book. And I got a good friend up in Northumberland, Fran Ardley. I'd kind of written for stuff for Fran for the magazines. So I spoke to her. I said, I want to write a book. We can call it Practical Gun Dog Training. It's not going to be fancy. It's not going to be. I think again, hopefully you'll agree. There's a lot of gimmicks in gun dog training, and I'm not into gimmicks. And I've kind of my thought about it behind it was Fran, younger than me, but she shoots over a dog. She does trial, so she's been very successful. Made up 2 or 3 champions. I don't, but I've got 30 years of shooting over my dogs. So combined, we could come up with a book that would give us we'll basically give practical gun dog training. So trying to give people some ideas of all the scenarios that we've come across when we're shooting.
Yep.
And that's what we've done. So that was my aim. I'd like to think we've achieved it. We've had some good feedback over it.
Okay.
It won't be for the purist trialing people and stuff like that. But I think it will sit quite nicely, hopefully, with people that have got pet gun dog breeds.
Yep.
But also people like us who want to go out and shoot over their dogs, pick up with their dogs, go beating with their dogs. In fact, there's no mention of it about competing.
No. Okay.
Nothing at all.
Good.
But can I just?
Now
I've got to pick you up on one thing.
What's that?
Cocker Spaniels.
Oh, well, I was about to say, now we've talked friendly and built a relationship. I know that Nick wants to give me absolute hell because you're a cocker man. You just have cockers.
I've got 5
You said to me before, I think before we started recording, you'd never had a Labrador. I just about, oh, you were recording, I just don't walk away. And I'm rude about cockers all the time.
You are rude about cockers. Yeah.
Do you know I've got way more cockers than you do?
Yeah.
I love cockers.
Yeah.
Okay.
You give them bad press.
I do, but you know why I give them bad press? The reason and I just want to put this out there before you take a knife to my back. The reason I give them bad press is because I think people go into cockers with their eyes shut, just going, oh, they're cute and they're small.
And they're popular.
I had a lady who in her 80s messaged me the other day saying, oh, I thought I'd get a cocker this time. I've had Labradors all my life. I thought I'd get a cocker because they're smaller.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm covering my head so I don't get sunburned. Because they're smaller. And I was like, but I mean, unless she takes on a retired 6, 7, 8-year-old, she's got a problem. We had a gentleman. It wasn't a cocker. It was a German wirehead pointer, and he was a seemingly sort of successful kind of middle-class lawyer from Edinburgh. He turned up in his fairly standard Volvo XC90 with his family, with this wirehead pointer. It was like 50 odd kilos, hauling him across my gravel, and I was like, I live in Edinburgh. I've got a garden. Not a postage stamp, decent sized house, reasonable garden, but that was it. Like, not going to be a gun dog. And I was like, and he said, so I've got a problem by my dog. He's a year old, and I want him to do calm in the house, walk to heel. And I was like, you just told me you want a Labrador, and you've got a German wirehead pointer. And he said, he then started. His reply was, but I thought with training, and I interrupted him. You thought with training I could turn a wirehead pointer into a Labrador? And I was like, you can't. Otherwise, we wouldn't have breeds. We just have dogs. Yeah. You would breed extra dogs, and you go, that one's going to be a border. That one's going to be a sheepdog. Yeah. That one's going to be a gun dog. That's going to be for the lady down the road who wants a family pet, and this one's going to go off and be an attack dog. And I was like, that's not how it works. And so my thing with cockers, I love cockers. I've got lots of them. They are awesome characters. One of my favourite dogs at the moment is a little. One of my dogs at the moment is Mash. She's a little golden cocker. 10 plus generations of my breeding. My negativity about cockers is purely so that people take a breath and go, is a cocker really for me? And if someone comes to me and says, I want a cocker, I go, okay. And I show them some Labradors, and then I show them some Springers, and then I talk about cockers, and they go, I do love those Labradors. They're lovely, they're biddable, they're training, but I really want a cocker. And okay, great. Let's go and show you. Let's go and really talk about cockers. But I want them to look at the broader thing rather than, isn't that cute? I want one of those. So that's where the grief comes from.
No, and I understand that completely. I mean, I've got 5 cockers, all mine live indoors. And when I say to people, I've got 5 cockers living indoors, God, your house has got to be up there. Got to be rich.
No, they're trained. No. And my son would be sitting on your shoulder going, we've actually got a video of cocker versus Labrador. My son's like, and he's 11. He was 10 at the time, and he's like, but we've got his little cocker lives in the house. She's good as gold. Yeah. She comes on holiday with us. She'll sit in the footwell of the car. She'll sit in the boot. We've got a little boat. She'll go off. In fact, there's an Instagram post of him on his little boat with a little engine. She's just sitting with him. Like they are absolute. They have a bond that most of my customers and yours would kill for. The dog is obsessed by it. She'll be sitting here with me. She'll hear his voice. Her ears will go up, and she'll just be like, I'm off. And he is the world to her. And I don't think she's as much as his world as other way around. She loves him more than he.
I'm convinced with Cocker Spaniels, they wake up in the morning and say, "What can I teach my trainer today?" I'm absolutely convinced of it.
But so that's where. And I said in the arena yesterday when I was doing one of my demonstrations, I said if I had to have one dog, I would have a Springer.
You said that.
I'd have a liver and white Springer who's a boy, because that's just what I grew up with. I love my Labradors. I've got way more Labradors than I do any other, and that's kind of probably, I'd say, what we're a bit more known for is our Labradors. But no, it's more about making sure people think about what breed they want. And again, I said this in my demo yesterday, just think about, not about that little moment of having an old Land Rover or having an Aston Martin. Oh, that would be fun. What about the rest of the time? What about all those 363 days of the year when you don't need that old Land Rover, it doesn't work, or the Aston Martin can't get up the track?
I say to people quite a lot, if you take the shooting season, if you're lucky, I mean, your neck of the woods, you might be lucky and get out on grass the grouse in August. Well, we don't start till October. So you've got October, November, December, January. That's your gun dog season. Yeah, what are they going to do the rest of the time?
They're in the kitchen.
They are.
On a dog bed.
And I think that's what people seem to forget. You know, people say, yeah, but yours are gun dogs. They work. Yeah, but they don't. They don't for the rest of the year. Yeah, we go out training and doing stuff with my dogs, but they're still at home being, in essence, pets, which probably, what, 90% of gun dog breeds are in this country? Easily.
I'd say more. And that's why I'm kind of, you know, and more so when people sort of talk about getting a pointer or something, I'm like, well, they're like, oh, I want a dog to track deer. I'm like, well, firstly, a Labrador or a Spaniel do that because they can track anything. And in the same way a pointer can. I'm like, oh, but a pointer will bring down a bigger deer if I wound it or something.
Is that the reason you're having it?
Get some shooting lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because you're like, what? Okay, so
that's
you
the
shoot.
reason you want
If
that.
you shoot a lot of deer, the chance of you wounding some are getting less and less because you shoot a lot. If you don't shoot many deer, that day when you need your dog, probably you've left it at home or something. You know, so it's kind of funny.
I have a golden rule actually.
Or cockers is better. I got cocker and I do 25 driven days.
Yeah. Well, wrong dog.
Wrong dog.
I won't shoot without a dog.
Yeah.
If I, on the very, very, very rare occasions I get asked to go on a driven day, if I can't take a dog, I won't go. For me, it's all about the dogs. And I was saying to somebody earlier on, we were talking about it, and I said, you know something, I can't remember, I would never say that was a great shot. What I would say is that was a great retrieve.
Yeah.
And that's my bias all day long. And I think that's why perhaps I don't do a lot of driven shooting, because you just don't get that aspect
what you're working
of it.
your dogs for training for. Yeah, and I think I'm just, as you said that, I was thinking, when did I last go? I don't think I've been shooting in the UK without a dog. I don't remember. Because I'd just be like, what's the point? And I mean, I'm more a case, when I turn up to shoot, it's more a case of how many dogs have you got? Not, have you brought a dog, Charlie? It's how many dogs? And I open the back of my pickup and I'm like, 9? I'm like, okay, because I'm like, well, they're not gonna do anything at home.
No.
So I may as well bring them with me. And so I'll quite happily sit on a drive with 7, 8, 9 dogs, and not to. And I know I'd be like, oh, you're showing up. Not to show off. I did do it once. I took 16 dogs on a driven shoot with one of my friends' shoots. Okay, and I was sitting them all there. I brought them out for like training. It's a little family shoot. We maybe shot 50 birds. I was sitting them out training. I brought like 6 or 8 or 10, and they grew. And then I brought the others out, and then I had them all sitting with me. And then on the last drive of the day, I sat one on everyone else's peg. And then had the rest, the good ones sat on everyone else's peg, and they off the lead. They sat there with me. I mean, it's a long time ago, and I was showing off to my pals.
Can I ask you a question? Because it's something that's just popped up in my head. What would you say was your best retrieve off of a dog you had?
So I've got, each of my best dogs has got a best retrieve.
Right.
I did Gun Dog Journal, Dog of a Lifetime. Would that be right, Joe? And I listed a few dogs, and I've got my original Springer Spaniel. There's a point on the A9 at Dromocta, up at Dromocta R'lyr Estate, and Joe and I passed it the other day, and I said that's where I was standing. The gun shot a grouse. It came down here. I sent the dog. He went all the way down there. The keeper came over the radio and said someone's dog's heading for the A9, and the girl that invited me said, don't worry, that's Charlie's. It's on a retrieve. And he said, but Charlie's halfway up the hill. And she said, yeah. And that was a sort of 600-yard semi-blind. The dog saw the bird flick. I watched it go down. Whether he saw, I don't know. Anyway, I had to handle him a bit. So that was a big long retrieve for a Springer. I mean, big long retrieve for any dog, but really big long retrieve for a Springer. My first cocker was just me and him out shooting. Well, not me, just me and him, but it was a little rough shoot. We were out just messing around, and I shot a bird, and it went down into a little sort of boggy bit, and it was a hot day, and I was like, where the bloody hell's that gone? I know, and this is Cocker.
Oh,
So I love Cocker.
We had to say that, didn't we?
No.
We were
And
waiting for that, weren't we?
He was awesome.
Yeah.
And I went over there, and he had the bird in his mouth, and he was slightly floating like a polar bear around in this water, cooling off, just for like 10 seconds. But I was like, he should have gone down. I heard the splash, and I was like, what's happened? And I slightly thought maybe he's got caught up in the weeds. So I went to look, and he was slightly lolling around. I was like, and he was called Jasper. I was like, Jasper, and he was like. And he came back. From then on, we called him Jacuzzi Jazz, because he was like down there in his jacuzzi.
Just having a chill out.
And then I had my original Labrador, my really lovely Labrador. People say to me, "Oh, what do you do for a job?" I don't have a job.
No, I
don't mess around with dogs.
Yeah.
Anyway,
listen,
thank you very much. Before I get sunburned.
Yeah, this could be 15 minutes. I think it's been a bit longer.
I know.
There could be some editing going on, isn't there?
That's a skill set I have, not shutting up.
Thanks, Charlie.